This episode is sponsored by DroneWorks Ireland, your go-to place when it comes to buying a drone, repairing a drone, and also when you need professionals to carry out any aerial work you may need. Check out their website at www.droneworksireland.ie. You're welcome along to the Maroon and White pod. So I'm delighted to be joined by former Galway hurler Craig Lally to look back on Galway's 220 to 121 defeat to Cork at the weekend. It's two defeats for Galway, but still a lot of positives to take from playing both All-Ireland finalists from last year in Tipperary and Cork in their opening two games. Galway have a bit of a break now in the league, and then they will play Offaly in the next game, which is really going to be a huge game considering even Waterford's result over Limerick. This league is going to be really competitive with two teams going down. But they play Offaly and Birr Sunday, February 22nd in their next game. Craig, obviously still plenty of positives for Galway to take despite two defeats in their first two games.
Yeah, look, I'm sure. Look, there's no doubt of Paul Mihal is will be under no illusion. Like, even though there's a lot of positives and people are saying that it's been great and so many young youth coming through, there's that side of it. But at the same time, Mihal would have liked 2 points considering the position Galway were in for both games. But no, there is loads of positives, a lot of new faces, and I think they're blending in very well. And in particular, the youth, like there's a lot of 19, 20-year-olds there that have really took to like duck to water, like John. They've really, I suppose, like in particular the physical side of it, like because as you said, like the two last year's Ireland finalists in the first two games was never going to be easy, and I think the way they've gone about their business, especially blending in with the older lads, and it's positive, like it's very positive. But again, it's very early days, and I'm sure Mihal would love to get 2 points on the board against Offaly in a few weeks' time, because at the end of the day, the last thing you want to be doing is looking at a relegation battle come that Limerick game. Or I know you have two home games with Waterford and Kilkenny, but that Limerick game, coming into the end of it, you don't want to be in that situation.
If you to look at it, 12 months ago, obviously lost to Cork by 12 points. To only lose by 2 points, and I think probably with the Tipperary game, Tipperary pulled away in the last 10 minutes. But obviously, Galway will be disappointed in this one, but it still shows real improvement in this team.
Yeah, like, and in particular, Paul, I suppose the fact that it's been so experimental as well. Like, I think that's the biggest positive, that last year when they went down, Mihal went down, I suppose he was probably not experimental, and he wasn't throwing in the 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds as he was. So I think that's the biggest positive to take from it all. And when you look at the overall panel and the teams that have gone out in the both games, albeit I know it's positive with the young lads coming through, there's so much experience still to come back into that fold. Like, like we haven't seen Wheelo, we haven't seen Beano, we haven't seen Finton, who's been out. Keenan only come on the last day. There's a lot of lads with loads of experience still to come into the fold and add to that. Like, but look, at competition for places is great, and I'm sure it's a great headache for Mihal and the lads to have, that knowing when these lads come back, they're not going to get their jersey straight away. And over the course of the last two games, it's very hard to pick lads out and say we're going to drop you for the Offaly game. And of course, Mihal, I suppose, and he's in the situation at the minute, like, where there's a lot of players playing fits, an awful lot of players still playing fits, and he's trying to manage minutes and stuff like that. And it's a tricky situation, like, and I suppose the panel is probably going to, I'd say, come the Offaly game, there'll probably be a few lads drop between now and the Offaly game, considering the fits will be over, and he'll be able to pick from a full panel. And there's that conundrum as well for the next couple of weeks. Like, and if you look at the overall picture, Paul, since the start of the Walsh Cup leading into the two first league games, like, a lot of lads really put their hand up to be on this panel going forward for the rest of the league and the championship. And I'm sure Mihal and the lads will have a lot of headaches over the next 2 to 3 weeks trying to. I'm sure the county board will be on to them to whittle it down to 36 or 38. I think I seen Limerick's panel there being announced to start the league. It was 38 players they had on it, and that's kind of where you need to be at. Like, and I suppose, yeah, that's the headache the management have, which is a good headache after. Even though he lost the first two games, to still have that headache leading into the Offaly game is good.
As you mentioned there's obviously players to come back, and probably going on how the team are performing at the minute, there's no guarantee that all of these players get back into the starting 15, but for the competitiveness of the overall squad, for instance, the players we were down at the weekend, the Loughrea players there, so you'd have Kieran Hanrahan, Cullen Killeen, Tiernan Killeen and Shane Morgan. I'm not sure what the exact story with Anthony Burns is. There seems to be talk that maybe he mightn't be part of the panel this year. So we'll have to I suppose, figure that one out as the Loughrea players get back. Conor Whelan obviously to come back, Brian Concannon to come back, Darren Marcy to come back. Rory Burke obviously missed the last day with a hamstring injury, and Finton Burke. So still plenty of players to come back into this squad.
Yeah, there is like, and when you name them all there, it's very interesting. In particular, Rory Burke, I thought had a great game the first day against Tipperary. Like, so like he was, it's just and he had a great Walsh Cup, and he was doing really good things for GMIT as well in the Fitzgibbon. Like, so there's a lot of lads there. I suppose at the end of the day, Paul, I suppose we have to look at this in the longevity. I think I was listening. I actually listened to Galway Bay when I was watching the match the last, and I think Sean Walsh was saying, I don't know the exact number, but it was definitely touching on 120 something. The amount of games Cahill has played for Galway, Cahill Mannion has played for Galway League and Championship. Um, I remember when Cahill came on the panel, it was 2015, so he's 11 years there now, and he's touching on 120 odd games. We have to be looking at this as well. Like, and I suppose that's the thing where people are saying, and even on the Sunday game last night, like they were saying about how good Galway is and how good these young lads are coming through, the likes of Rory Burke and Aaron Island and Jason Rabbit and Killian Trayers and them. But we still have to remember they're only 19, 20 years of age. They've a lot to learn yet. And they're going to be Cahill in 10 or 11 years' time with their 120 games, because these are going to be leading, they're going to be at the forefront for Galway hurling for the next 10 or 11 years. And we're going to be having these as leaders, just like Wheelo and Dahi and all these lads were for the last 10 years or 11 years. And I suppose where it is great and everything's good and positive, I think we just need to realise that they still have to learn their trade over the next 2 or 3 years as well. Like, and there's going to be situations and times and games where they might take the wrong option, and that's fine because they're only young. Like, and I suppose that's where the blend of experience that you talk about there that's going to come back into the panel will help them along the way, and the competition for places will be very good. And look at when was the last time that we had 19 that we had 4 5 19 20 year olds really pushing for places and putting the likes of the Wheelos, the Beanos and these lads and many more to the pin of their collar trying to get back in the team.
We haven't talked about it yet, but if you look back at the Galway Cork game, the efficiency, I suppose it was a big problem. 15 wides in total, nine in the first half, six in the second half, and even I suppose Cahill uncharacteristically missed a few frees. Aaron goes on them towards the end, and very impressive in the last few minutes. He was with a couple of the frees he scored because they weren't easy frees, but it was a big problem, and it was sort of, I suppose, the wides we had in the first half, they were draining, weren't they?
They were, yeah, Paul. Look, and I suppose there was a probably a case for the same factor in the Tipperary game as well. Like, there was times when we should have probably pushed on that we didn't, and our scoring efficiency is definitely probably. But look at, I suppose the biggest positive I would take from that, Paul, is looking back in the last two games is our scoring efficiency might have been great, but they were simple wides. They weren't Hail Mary shots from the corner, and they were bringing the scoring efficiency down. Like, we were actually getting in really good places. Like Cahill, Gavin Lee in particular was making great runs. He'd one or two bad wides as well. Obviously, the freeze can go bad for anyone on any day. Like, so, look, Cahill 9 times out of 10 he puts them over, but we're getting in really good positions, and that's the most positive thing to take from it all from Michal and the lads. I'd say is that we're actually getting in scoring positions. We're working the ball up really well, which we weren't doing last year, to that scoring position. It's probably just the radar was off. But that'll come in time, I suppose. Look at. I know Cork were probably very efficient. That kept them in the game in the first half. In particular, they had very little wides, and I actually heard the Cork selector, I think his first time again, talking to Paul Flanagan at half time and TG Carr, and he was just saying that even he was admitting the margin should be an awful lot more, but it was because Cork's efficiency was so much more. But look at, again, that'll come with time. Cahill, like, you couldn't criticize Cahill for his wides, like, which is a rare thing because he just makes the whole thing flow there. Like, his ability to get into these pockets of space and the way he controls the game, and like that point he got with Porrick that time where he gave it to Porrick from the free, he hit it on the ground backwards, then just got a small bit of pocket of space and put it over off his left. That sort of stuff, it just gives such a lift. Like, and I suppose the wides, yeah, it's something that Michal will be looking at, but on the overall picture, I think he'd be very happy with the positions the lads are getting in to take the shots, and that the fact there's no Hail Marys or everything is working up through the lines very well.
Is the positive of the 15 wides, and I know efficiency was a bit of a problem against Tipperary, but it's still early in the year if you look at it from an overall context. Can they still take positives maybe from creating these chances? Because obviously it's something that's going to develop as the year goes on.
Yeah, definitely, Paul. Like, and I think it's very evident now as well that where Michal and the lads, they're changing up the style a bit. Like how many times do we see Ronan Glennon and Joshua Ryan in the half forward line or full forward, even the
Yeah.
full forward line? Like, for Tom Monaghan's goal, the next closest man to Jason Rabbit for the hand pass was Ronan Glennon to his right. the corner back. So they're obviously getting a license to just go forward and take the chance. And obviously Dahi Din or whoever's at six or whoever's in the wing back is sitting in and the midfielders are sitting in. But it's really, that wasn't happening. I don't think that happened last for Galway hurling, that the corner forwards allow go that forward. And Gavin Lee's another lad. I know he's playing midfield, but there's loads of time where Gavin was in the half forward and he was in the full forward line. So he's obviously getting the license to push forward. And Gavin's striking is like, it's as good as Cahill's. Like, he got a point there if he's left hand side in the second half over in the terrace side, like on the run off his left hand side from 70 yards. And most intercounty hurlers would be hard to do without standing up. Like, so he's obviously getting the license to go forward as well. I know he had a few wides the last day, but it's nice to see. Like, but that all goes out the window, Paul, and it's great going forward and making them runs if you don't get the ball. And I think the most positive thing for the lads is that the ball is working to the lads in the better position. And I know that's cliche, like get the ball to the lad in the right position, but in intercounty hurling, it's an awful lot easier said than done to get that ball. And I think the pockets of space that we're finding is brilliant. Like, and that just comes to movement. And I think something that's very evident this year, and I don't know if it's down to Barry and Keith and the S&C lads, but the fitness levels I think are absolutely at an all-time high. I think we're able to get up and down the field. There's no one panting or anything like that. Yeah, we picked up a few injuries, John Fleming and stuff like that, but that comes with it. But I just think the S&C and the fitness and stuff like that must be at an absolute max, I'd say, over the last 2 to 3 months, because it's a joy to watch the fitness levels, and the work rate comes with that, obviously. And in particular, the first 10 or 15 minutes when we were really in top and we should have pushed on more, the amount of turnovers that we got and the ruck situations and the amount of bodies we had in. And everyone was commenting on it between TG Carr and I was listening to Galway Bay as well, Andy and Sean and Cyril Farrell. They were just saying how much we've improved this year compared to last year in them ruck situations and turning over balls, bodies in. Like, Cork didn't know what to do with us in the first 10 or 15 minutes. They were shell shocked. Like, they thought they were going to come
Yeah.
up and play their lovely hurling, but it was the total opposite. Like, and even for a finish as well, like at the very end, we're talking about fitness. I think Colin Malloy or Declan McLaughlin hit, I can't remember which Cork lad out over the line for he hit him a shoulder out over the line and we won a sideline from it. I think we got a point out of that. TJ Brennan hit a short sideline. So it's a big factor. And look, I suppose with so many young lads coming in, I know we spoke about this many times, Paul, in the podcast, with so many 19, 20, 21 year olds now on the panel, S&C is massive in getting lads up to strength as quick as possible.
You can really see the play starting to develop. I thought the goal, obviously, caused 3 points, and Darren Neary gets a point, puts Galway 4-2 up after 10 minutes. But that goal from John Fleming giving the ball to Rabbit, and the way that the pass was perfect. And it's just a joy to watch Jason Rabbit when he gets that in the hand and lays it off to Tom perfectly. It was a well worked move, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and that was the plan from the get go, because they obviously isolated Jason Rabbit inside 1-on-1 with Darragh O'Leary, and like you could see that he was trying to get loose from him. That was the one time that he actually got to 5 or 10 yards in front of him. But credit goes to John Fleming, because Manny would have shot from the sideline that time,
Mm.
but he put the ball in lovely in front of him. And in all fairness to Monaghan, he made a great run. But Jason Rabbit straight away, he knew to give the ball. So that was obviously something that they've been working on, because maybe last year John Fleming would have took that shot and the wind would have caught it, it would have went out wide and would be soul destroying. So it was lovely to see. Like, but to think that there you have a 19, whatever, I don't know, is he 28, 19-year-old anyway, definitely Jason Rabbit, and he had the right mind to be able to get into that position and give the ball. It's a big thing at 19 years of age in intercounties to be able to be at that level already. Like, Manny would have just turned, popped it over the bar and got your point in the board, first point of the day. So I know it was really good and a great run by Mono.
He's such a target rabbit, isn't he? Like, if you can get that to stick at all, he's such a handful. Even at stages, I know Robert Downey was back there at stages too, and he was making it really difficult for him.
Yeah, look, like I suppose, just like the apple doesn't fall too far from the trees, to say, Paul. He's every bit of it. I think I seen something there this morning. I don't know what social media posted it up, a picture of Joe Rabbit in '96 against Tipperary and a picture of Jason, and it was like looking in the mirror. But like, what I'd like to see more is like, maybe I wouldn't say they overdone it, but maybe he probably got too much ball where he was 1-on-1. I know he's not. He probably wouldn't be giving out about it, but just Colin Malloy got one or two lovely balls in front of him in the second half. He got a lovely point off his left where he got a ball, cut to the outside and put it over the bar. If we just mixed it up a small bit, like at the start of the second half, he actually worked way out to midfield. Jason Rabbit did one for about 5 or 10 minutes there. He was out the field. It's no harm just to mix it up as well, like, and maybe put Colin Malloy and Declan McLaughlin inside, or as we spoke beforehand, maybe have Aaron inside 1-on-1, because Aaron loves being there as well 1-on-1. and just to mix it up and maybe bring Jason out for a while and then bring him back in as well, like not to be leaving them in there for most of the game. And look, and the lads did that at the start of the second half. And at the end of the day, as we spoke about, he still is only 19 years of age. Like he's a lot to learn, and like Daryl Leary's obviously on him the last day fullback, but like if you've say any of the Downies, like say back there, they're experienced players. Like he could get fairly, if you keep hitting ball into him for 30, 35 minutes in the first half, that if nothing happens, the confidence will go down. Like so, it might be no harm just to change him up. Like he's a great man to win a puck out as well. He won one there, um, maybe halfway through the set, or maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes to go in the half, where he went out to the wing forward position, won a puck out and laid it off lovely. So I won the free actually from it. So that was one of the ones that Aaron scored at the very end. So look at it, he's a serious. I think it's something that we haven't had since maybe Johnny Glynn or something like that. Paul, like a go-to man
Mm.
like that, and it's great to see because it's something maybe that we probably haven't brought through the county in the last couple of years that we really could do with a go-to man.
I think the goal before half time, Carl Mannion's goal chance where he flicks it and Robert Downey falls to the ground. It's a great save by Patrick Collins, but similar to the first goal, it would have been a tremendous worked goal there, and he was just unfortunate because he did nearly everything right there.
Yeah, it was a lovely dinker right down. He was, as I say, sent for a bag of chips, but like he probably got the angle, probably got too tight. No, he's
Mm.
done it in the past. I think he did it last year. I can't remember who. He cut in from the inside and roofed to the net. He probably just had it too low, a nice height for Horgan or for goals. But like at the end of the day, I suppose in hindsight, he maybe should have tapped it over. They were in momentum and stuff like that. But with Cahill, sure, Cahill is able to do anything, so you couldn't take him away from that. But it was very well worked all the way up along, and there was great. There's a great run from can't remember who made the run first to give Cahill the pass up along the line, but that again, like there, Cahill found himself in the full forward line, like obviously floated an awful lot from centre forward out around the middle of the field. But I think that interchange is very like in that for an example, like it's very clear to see that it's very much now that you need to be able to play in any role that you're given. Like there's times where you could be anywhere in the field and you need to be able to do it. And obviously Cahill has played everywhere. Like, but if Cahill goes in there, that someone can come out to centre forward and take up his position. And I think Jason Rabbit did that at the start of the second half as we spoke about. Aaron has obviously come out an awful lot now, probably more so out around the middle of the field in the last two games in particular area as well. And I think they're kind of given, they seem to be given that kind of license to roam around for each player as long as you fill a position.
It obviously the scoreline flatters Cork at the break. There's no point in saying otherwise, particularly after Galway leading 1-8 to 4, 1-7 to 3, and they're 1-9 to 6 ahead. But obviously then Cork finished the half really strongly. Hardney, Barrett, Brian O'Sullivan, and Dar Fitzgibbon all getting points to leave one in at 1-9 to 11, and but Galway definitely felt like they should have been more than a point ahead at the break.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Harnedy and Shane Barrett in particular at the end of the first half really probably Shane Barrett in particular got too much room.
Yeah.
And I suppose
It was 13 points the Cork half forward line finished with.
yeah, Shane Barrett probably roamed around too freely really. I think, and I know it's easy to say that like because he's great pace and stuff like that. But there was a few points in particular at the start of the second half where there was no one on him. He 10 or 15 yards.
Yeah.
He actually put one wide. The easiest shot of all he put wide. There was no one within 10 or 15 yards. That was probably something that we probably should have done was pushed up on him. Harney, these points were a bit more hard got. In all fairness to him, he wasn't. It was just he did really well. Like, but whereas Shane Barrett was really free, Darragh Fitzgibbon the same way. He obviously ended up with a few points, but they were really good points. Like I suppose the other side of that, Paul, in the first half. Let's be honest about it. Like Downey and Mark Coleman should have seen red, both of them. Like Mark
Yeah.
Coleman strike and Cahill was straight down in the head, and
Yeah,
Downey
but
pulled.
there was no intention for Mark Coleman to play the ball whatsoever. The ball's gone, and how he connected with Cahill, I thought he was very fortunate.
Very fortunate. Like even on TG Carr, like they were saying how fortunate he was. But Downey swiping back as well on Declan McLaughlin. Was it Colin Malloy or Declan McLaughlin? I can't
It was
remember which
Declan
one.
McLaughlin, yeah,
Declan
yeah.
McLaughlin. That was an awful swipe back as well. Like he was very lucky, as well. Like I'd say if it was daytime, maybe in Crow Park or something like that, it might be easier view. But he probably got away with it considering it was so dark, maybe in that. But yeah, there were two questionable cards. Like Downey didn't even get a card; they just played on.
Mm.
Maybe Declan didn't make enough of a meal about it or something. I don't know, but in particular, Cahill's one now was he was very Mark Coleman was very lucky with that one. So they can count themselves lucky to be going in definitely with 15 minutes at half time. On top of the fact that they were very lucky to go in just 2 points down as well. Um, but they finished the half very strong in all fairness, and I think that's one thing. And Anthony Daly was on about, or yeah, they were on about in the Sunday game last night, like that Galway just need to, and that'll come with experience and time and all that, but just keep the concentration for 70, 75 minutes. And I think we kind of, I wouldn't say fell asleep, but this towards the end of the second quarter and the start of the third quarter were definitely our weaker periods, like our third quarter in particular. We finished the game again very strong after the goal went in. We finished the game and won some great frees, but just going into half time and the start of the second half where we caught us a small bit.
This podcast is brought to you by Hoare Chartered Accountants. Hoare Chartered Accountants are based in Galway City and are a leading provider of audit, accountancy and taxation services. For more information, visit hoarecharteredaccountants.ie. Just on it there, a lot of people made a lot about the free count and how it was maybe um, a lot of Cork fans, particularly on social media, maybe complaining about how many frees Galway got and they didn't get. And then obviously Ben O'Connor comes out after the game and says the manliness is going out of hurling. Like I don't know at stages like I thought you couldn't really complain at some of the frees Galway got. You see Mark Coleman's strike like and he was on about there was no dirty strokes like that. That for me that's a dirty stroke. So I don't exactly get where he's coming from there.
No, and like I'm all for, and like in all fairness to Dahi, like she's like again leading the line. He wasn't taking any crap there before half time, and that argument great to see. It's absolutely brilliant to see. It brings a bit of fight back into it. It shows that there's a bit of competitiveness. It shows there's hits going on. It's all in the hall, loose hurling. That was brilliant. And just before half time again, wasn't it great to see going
Yeah.
into the tunnel, bit of fight and bit of flair and stuff like that. Like led by Dahi again. Like obviously Dahi's such a leader, but like that was great to see. I've no problem with that at all, and that's brilliant, and that's what you want to see. Like because it shows both teams rough at the game. But as you said, Mark Coleman's strike and even Downey's strike, that wasn't like that's not nothing got to do with manliness. Like they're mean strikes. Like they're main. Like and there's no need for them. Um, and I suppose that's two different things. Like do you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
striking someone with a hurl and having a few shoulders and a bit of a rough and tough. That's two different things completely. Like so and I'm all for letting things go as much as possible, but at the same time, hitting someone down the head with the hurl is a different story. So I wouldn't
In
agree with Ben
fairness,
O'Connor that.
yeah. In fairness, I thought Michael Kennedy let the game flow. Now there were certain stages where it obviously got a bit out of hand, but I think that's just down to both sets of players with Galway. Cork is, as you mentioned, the tunnel, and obviously there's a few incidents where a bit of shoving and pushing went on, but that's not really down to the referee. But in fairness, I thought he let the game flow.
Yeah, and you're going to get that this time of the year now,
Yeah.
Paul, with the heavy conditions and that sort of stuff. Like, and Robert Downey spoke about that afterwards in his interview. He said about the conditions were so heavy this week, and different pitches will have different conditions, and that's why it'll be very important as well, I suppose, to take into context that like for the likes of these lads that what you see now with a lot of these Galway lads might be the same thing in the summer because it's totally different scenarios, like with the type of pitches and the speed of play and everything like that. So that has to be taken into account as well. Like, but for the viewer or for the anyone watching it, or I bet you if you asked any of the players or the management, maybe not Ben O'Connor, but if you ask me, was it a good competitive match and was he happy with how it went? Sure, of course he would be. Like that's the hurling used to be always played like bar the last couple of years where every incident is a big incident.
Particularly you look at the second half, and Michal mentioned it. They'll have to be disappointed with the way they conceded the two goals coming from long puckouts from Patrick Collins.
Yeah, and like I suppose in the first 15 to 20 minutes when Galway were really on top, Paul, they obviously had Niall O'Leary left free in the corner, and he was getting the short puck out. And when he got the short puck out, I'd say they weren't expecting that Cork. I think actually that McGann fella, the selector, actually spoke about it as well at halftime. They weren't expecting that short puck out to be given and for the Cork man to be free, and they didn't know what to do with it. And Galway had great joy out of it because when he got the ball, Galway stood off him, stood off him, stood off him, and then he struck it long. And obviously, Pádraig or Dahi was kind of sitting a small bit free, and we were recycling it, getting up through the lines fast, and we were getting great scores out of it. Then Cork pushed up, and Collins went long with a few puckouts. And again, we actually won the long puckouts to start the first half very, very well actually, and we made good, I'd say, good inroads in it. I think we got a few points out of that as well. But at the start of the second half, they started getting on top in the puckouts. Harnedy and Fitzgibbon in particular were really getting onto the breaks. And I think I suppose what really made a big, I think Tim O'Mahony in the middle of the field at half time when he came on, he really got control of it there. And he was getting onto a lot of breaks there and he was giving in great ball. And that kind of killed us. Like the Cork subs made a big impact now, Paul, compared to ours, I think. Um, like Tim O'Mahony and Robbie O'Flynn in particular, just the amount of ball they got on, like, and they were really busy. And they had great joy from that. And that, say, Robbie O'Flynn come on maybe 15 minutes into second half. At that stage, Tim O'Mahony had already got control of the midfield, and Robbie Flynn come on and he got onto two or three great balls, and they got great success out of it. And I'd say that kind of killed us a small bit. That you could bring on two players with that experience, and obviously not Robbie O'Flynn since the injury, but Tim O'Mahony's a starter, like, and the way he come on, and that probably we kind of lost a small bit of shape, and the two of them lads really got control of it. On top of the fact that Dara Fitzgibbon was really getting on top, that that Seamus Hardy was picking off a few scores. It just probably couldn't get to grips with it there for about 10 or 15 minutes, and that's where we fell behind.
116 to 18 before 60 minutes. I know Cork obviously started the second half pretty well, but in fairness to Galway, I thought they did battle impressively there before I obviously look at Cork getting the 1-3 in a row to push them seven ahead. I thought there was good fighting going around that stage.
There was, yeah, definitely. And like, I suppose the fact that we kept the scoreboard ticking over when they were probably working a lot harder for their scores. Bar the Shane Barrett one's right, he was probably a bit too loose, but we worked really hard. We won a lot of balls, won a lot of dirty balls. I thought our half back line did really well. Um, but I suppose again, the lads were saying Sunday games night, the concentration levels. As an example, Paul, the goal went in. That happens, whatever. Like, it was absolutely super run in all fairness. The goal went in. Then Darroch hit the short puck out. We lost the short puck out. They got a point. Then the ball went up the field. We got possession of it. And Jason Rabbit, like as you do, kind of had a bit of a pot shot from about 50 yards over his shoulder. Ball went wide. They went up and got a point again. So in the space of about 2.5 minutes, we'd lost 5 points. And it's in all fairness, like, I suppose the positive thing for me all and Franny and Nolan and Aidan and all the lads is that the way we kept going to the very end and won our frees and tipped away, and I think Aaron got three or four from play or from frees and got one from play, and we just
Yeah,
worked really hard.
four frees and a point from play. I think that was a big, I suppose, positive if you look at towards the end of the game because could have been easy to down tools there, seven down, but they kept battling and they even had the chance with the last, I suppose, ball. Cork come out and defend it, but to keep battling and to bring it back to two, I think shows character.
And like, if you look at it, Paul, like Aaron, 19 years of age, he got four frees, one from play. Jason Rabbit won a puck out in the middle of that, won a free. Was also very busy there in the half forward line. Colin Malloy very busy inside. It's all these young lads that who are standing up, like, which is absolutely brilliant to see. Like, because there would be nothing said if they hid away and they got bet by 7 or 8 points and they're only young, and give them a chance, but they didn't. They wanted to win. Like, and even Aaron, the point he got, like, in all fairness to him, was an absolute cracker. Like, he rode the tackle, came back out and put it over from 70, 75 yards. And they're the massive positives. I know Mihal, he'll be cracked that he doesn't have at least 2 out of 4 points, but there's so much positives to take from it with so much to come. Like, and look at the end of the day, when the fixtures were made, he probably was saying, look, you'd love to get 2 points out of the four, but they're still the two hardest fixtures in the game in the league, really. Like, but where he'll be looking for now is right. Fitz is over in the next week or two. He needs to target obviously Offaly, and then you have your two home games. You've Waterford and Kilkenny coming to town. Target them, and then you're going into the Limerick game. Hopefully, going look, aiming to be somewhere positive in the league by the end of it.
Talking there about Aaron Island, Jason Rabbit, obviously Declan McLaughlin, Colin Malloy have been there Colin Malloy there for the last 2 years, Declan McLaughlin on the panel for the last few years, Darren Eary too in the half forward line, Killian Trayers, Joshua Ryan. Isn't it about sticking with these players, giving them the 5 or 6 games now in the league, letting them develop? Like these 5 or 6 games they get here in the league are going to be absolutely massive when they head into a Leinster Championship and have these games behind them.
That's the catch 22, Paul, for me, Hall. That is the catch 22, and it's what everybody spoke about over the last 12 months. Is that, does he go with the youth? Because by the end of the league, by the Limerick game, Micheál would love to have his close as possible to start in 15 that's going to go
Yeah.
out in the first round of the championship. So with that happening, all those players that we spoke about, the Finton Burks, the Wheelos, the Beanos, the Connor Coonies of the world, all these lads who have loads of experience, that's where Micheál has to find the blend. Does he go fully youth with all those players you just mentioned there that are all between 19 and 22 years of age? And we actually left out Darren Eary. I don't think we mentioned Darren Eary, which was wrong because he brought so much to the game the last day. His pace is a joy to watch. Something that Galway, the way he gets up and down the lines as a wing forward is absolutely brilliant. And he's a lovely stride about him. Like, and I think he's so much to offer. I actually love watching him in the club championship last year for Castlegare. But that's where Micheál has this conundrum now. Like, does he go back to the experience? I know he's a lot of experience gone from the panel, that have moved away, which is fine. But does he go back to the experience? Does he go fully youth for the rest? Because at the end of the day, like I heard Pádraig Joyce on about the footballers there with like Killy McDade and stuff like that, they come on the last day. He was just saying about they need game time to get up to pace. These lads are no different. Like all these lads we spoke about, the Connor and Brian and Connor Cooney and like Finton, they're going to need games to get up to pace as well, like before championship. So do they come back in and start? Like does Finton come back in the full back and start ahead of Killian Trayers, or does Wheelo come in the corner and start ahead of Declan McLaughlin or Colin Malloy? This is the conundrum Micheál probably has now over the next couple of weeks. Like, and by the Limerick game, he needs to have his start in 15 as close as possible. So it'd be very interesting to see what he does. Like, and look at, I suppose only he knows that. I'd love to get a blend. I
Yeah.
personally think that where these are absolutely, as I said to you, these are 10, 11, 12 years of intercounty hurling ahead of them. Like, these are going to be leading the line for Galway. Those 7 or 8 players we mentioned. I'd love to get a blend of youth and experience where you're bringing in, you need your experience, but you still have loads of these youth. And I think John Kiley, albeit it's easy to do it when you're winning, and I know they didn't win the last day, but he's probably done that really well. And we spoke about this a few times where you have the likes of Cathal O'Neill's and you have the likes of all these lads coming through, the Colin Coughlin's and you have the Aidan O'Connor's and you have all these lads where he's been able to blend them along. Whereas this is a bit different with Micheál because he probably has to bring more in at the one time, but at the same time, like I know it's early doors, but Championship is a different story completely to League, Paul. And like where
Yeah.
Jason Rabbit and Aaron and all these are brilliant, they still are only 19 years of age. Do you know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong, they could be started, but it's a big ask to go out and start 4, 5, 19 or 20 year olds in the first round of championship because there's a lot of inexperience here where we spoke about it and what's his name? Rob Downey spoke about it afterwards. Every week you go out, it's going to be a different pitch, it's going to be a different style, and it's going to be different this time of the year. It's going to be a different type of hurling. Whereas in the summer, everything is the same. It's a dry ground, it's a fast pace, it's intense. Everything will be the same, and it'll be all the same level. So those lads, it's like anything you do as a plumber or carpenter. You have to learn your trade as you go as well for a couple of years, and it'll be just, I'd say, with Micheál and the lads, who he puts in with the lads that are actually experienced.
If you're looking at it, Conor Whelan's obviously the guarantee. He gets into the team. But like if you're looking at the other experience to come back in, when I said there at the top of the show, at the minute is Whelan the only guarantee of that experience to come in and start?
Um, like sure, again with Bino, like he's probably been very unlucky with injuries
Yeah.
the last couple of years, and so I don't even know where he's at now at the minute in terms of his body because he hasn't been featuring at all. Um, Wheelo is probably the guaranteed starter, obviously, because
Mm.
like he's been one of the best hurlers in the county or in the country actually for the last couple of years. Um, but again, it's like say for example, Keenan come on the last day. Keenan's been a regular starter the last 2 or 3 years. So where does he slot into it? I know Finton's been in and out of the team, and like if you were to pick the team in the morning and if there's a match tomorrow, how do you drop Killian Trayers? Because he's been very
Yeah.
consistent the last 2 games. Joshua Ryan very consistent. Ronan Glynn has been very good as well. So
Well, maybe Darren Marcy does come back in.
Darren, of course, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Being
especially
captain.
captain and all. But even at that, like he's probably the
Yeah.
best cornerback, you know. again, Darren has been very injury prone as well, like, so you're going to have to take that. So th- I suppose like Mihal probably has this long term plan in his head for the remaining 4 games where he's going to give X amount of players X amount of time for the next 2 to 3 games, and then for the last, say the last game against Limerick, or maybe the Kilkenny game, the second last game, that he's really pushing for his final 15, and everyone will have to get a chance. Like there's two, the Offaly Waterford game, he's going to have to mix it up again, I presume, and lads are going to have to get a chance, but. I don't know, Paul. I still think it's absolutely brilliant to see all this youth coming through, and it's brilliant. But can you go cold turkey and go full youth for championship? I don't know. Is that possible? I still think you need. It's all right saying just bring back in Wheelo and Darren, but like obviously look, you still have loads of experience with P Mannion, Dahi, Cahill. Like you've lots of lads there that are there 10, 12 years. Like, but there has to be a happy go medium. Like Derek as well now has a good bit of experience, gotten goals. There has to be a happy go medium, I think. And I'm not saying go fully back to the tried and experience, but because there is loads of youth that are well capable of starting there, but have a mix because you will get picked off against the Kilkennys or the Wexfords, the Worlds in the Leinster Championship, or even the likes of the Dublin, if you don't have a bit of experience to control a game at certain stages or do something that that needs to kill the game or do something like we spoke about when that goal went in the last day where Darroch pucked out the ball for someone to turn around to Darroch and say, hold on, slow it down or go long or something like that. Or, maybe Jason Rabbit, maybe don't have the pot shot, recycle the ball and we'll get a point in the board to react to the goal that went in or something like that. Like, that you have the experience on the field. That Davy Burke would have done that for 10 or 12 years where he lets you know what to do on the field at a certain time. Joe would have been brilliant at it. Aidan would have been brilliant at it. Johnny Cohen, these lads with loads of experience that you can just say, look at a moment in time, Darroch, like Nicky Quaid did it for years for Limerick. When that goal went in, right, reset, go down, take off your helmet. Obviously, you can't do that anymore, but do
Hmm.
something that stops the game, opposed to hitting the ball out short and the ball going over the bar. So that experience is vital, I think, Paul. Very, very, very important. So Wheelo definitely, Darren definitely, but that's where Michal has a few choices to make afterwards.
At the minute, I'd be looking at Nyland Rabbit Whelan as the inside nine for the first Leinster Championship game.
Are you asking me?
Well,
Like,
you can
look
disagree with me.
without doubt, the talent that is obviously we leave Wheelo out of this. But the talent that's in within the two lads is goes without saying. Like, I think it's been probably out of everything that's been hurled, all the hurling that's been done in the last 2 weeks, it's been the talk of the country of these two lads coming through, and obviously Aaron having Evan as a brother, and all the talk about him being younger, and obviously Joe being Jason's father even brings it more into the media spotlight. But I think that like it's a big thing. I think we need to see more of them in the next 4 games to prove that they are ready. As I said to you, they'll be leading the line for 10 or 12 years for Galway, but that they're ready to start the first round championship. Now speaking to me, all like Jason Rabbit has been shining it and lighting it up at training, as is Rory Burke. Now I don't think we mentioned Rory Burke there at all.
Yeah.
These lads have like, and physically they're big enough and strong enough as well. Like Rory Burke is a big unit for his age. These lads. So many times in the past we've had 19-year-olds coming through and they haven't been big enough or strong enough. These lads are able to mix it. Like, no more than Aaron, he mightn't be as big as the two lads, but he's not afraid to mix it as well. So I'd have no fear in terms of size in that. But my biggest fear is just having too much inexperience in the team at the one time.
Yeah, even if you're looking at a half forward line, you could potentially have Dar. Like, I think going on form, there's no way Darren Neary couldn't be in there at the minute with the performances he's given. He's up down. He's chipping in with points. Even Rory against Tipperary 1-3. Colin Mannion looks like obviously going to occupy 11 this year. And then obviously John Fleming before he got injured, he's been very good too. So there is plenty of options there with a half forward line too. And I think if you're to throw, I think the next few games are big for Tiernan Clean for the league now when he gets a chance.
Yeah, look, I suppose, and in the last year, anyway, definitely in the last couple of years, we probably didn't have as many options as we have now. Like, and like, I suppose, to me, Paul, do you know what the biggest standout of all this is? When you look at it now in the last 2 games, how do we not go and compete in the under 20 championship last year and go and win that?
Yeah.
Like when you look at it there now and see those players what they're doing at inter-county level, like it was such a strong under 20 team last year. Like that, it's just isn't it a bit of an opportunity lost for them, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, look, there's loads of options. As I said to you, if you were to pick a team in the morning, how would you drop Darren Neary? How would you drop John Fleming? What they've done, like they've been really good. Um, but as I said to you, there's a long way to go yet in the league. And if these lads are really, if they keep up the same pace that they're going and momentum that they're going in the next 4 games, you couldn't drop them for championship. But that's the joys that Michal will have. He'll have probably 30 lads fighting 15 on 15 for places come the Limerick game. And what a position to be in the space of 12 months. What a turnaround in 12 months. And I think we spoke about this plenty of times over the last 12 months, Paul, that the right people were in the right place now to make this happen. So it's like Anton, when you have Mihal and you have Nolan and Franny and Aidan and Joycey's back and a few lads like that in the positions, this is what they can do in that period of time.
Midfield's interesting. It seems like Gavin at six, they're not going to do it this year, going on the first 2 games. In fairness, it seems like when he's playing midfield, he's a player we need probably going forward and further up the pitch. Do you see Gavin and Tom as the partnership this year? Now, talking about Tiernan Colleen there, it'd be interesting to see Cullen Colleen if he comes back into this.
Yeah, look, I'd imagine Cullen definitely get a chance. Like, and he'd remind you of Tom a lot, like where he's up and down type of player and really gets on the ball quite a lot. Whereas I'm really intrigued by how the role that Gavin has been given this year. Like obviously he played at six quite a lot last year, and we probably didn't see him as free flowing and going forward. But in particular, the last day I was amazed by the positions he was getting into. He was getting in great positions. His striking is actually left and right the way he can strike the ball. It's as good as such as good as Carl, and I would definitely 100% have Gavin there in the middle of the field, and obviously Monroe's been flying it. Um, so himself and Keenan maybe might have a battle there to get that other position, but Gavin has been a breath of fresh air there in the middle of the field, and his physical side of things as well. He's a great man to turn over a ruck, and he's really leading by example. And yeah, I think that's obviously as Colin Killeen will have to get a chance there as well, and there'll be a few more, but I think Gavin and whoever else, probably Tomano or Keenan or something like that, will be nailed on for there.
Do you see Dahi and Killian Trader sticking as the spine of the defence?
Um, Dahi got his wish anyway. Dahi always loves to play six, so look at the minute, like he's been doing very little wrong. Um, I suppose the only concern I'd have the last day, Paul, and you touched on it there, was the amount of scores Cork got from the half forward line. In particular Shane Barrett. That maybe how do we nullify that the next day? Like maybe Offaly won't bring the same trip, maybe because that half forward line is very experienced between Fitzgibbon, Seamus Harnedy, and obviously Shane Barrett. But it was probably an area of concern. Definitely the amount of space that we were there. In the flip side, P Mannion, the amount of possessions, I'd love to know the stat how many possessions he actually got on. He seemed to be on the ball all the time, and his distribution is brilliant. But I suppose where P was on the ball and he was giving off great ball. Maybe there was times, I know Colin Moore, you could hear Colin Moore talking about it. My Irish isn't the best, but on TG Carr, where they probably needed to push a bit more and be tighter. But there's probably an element of maybe getting to know Gavin and Mono in midfield as well, that they come in and they cut out that as well, like that they could have come back maybe and checked Shane Barrett a bit more from the midfield role. But that little triangle there in the middle of the field, that half back line in midfield, if we can just get that really tight, that we cut out those free shots from the half forward, and that'll be a big part of it.
Yeah, I think in fairness, losing Dahi was a blow, and losing Ronan Glennon the last day as well, because he was actually doing very well in the full back line as well.
Yeah, they were, but like in all fairness, we lost them, but the way we finished in would have totally counteracted with the way. Like I thought we
Yeah.
finished the game very well. Like, and Cork, like if we had another 2 or 3 minutes, like we were really on a roll. And I suppose that free that TJ gave away at the very end, maybe there was, we were actually on a roll of points. There was maybe no need for it. It was kind of a soft one in the back, and if we got control of that ball, we might got another chance up the field. But yeah, no, look at it. Like in all fairness, Ronan had been flying it all the day, and his experience alone, like the only thing I'd say, like, the row was brilliant, like, and it was great to see and all that, but it probably went against us. And again, I reference back to that McGann guy, the selector with Cork. He spoke about it at half time going in to Paul Flanagan on TG Carr. He was saying, "Oh, that row is just what we wanted. That might wake them up a small bit," and unfortunately, it did. It got Cork going like we're again. Now, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't go against Sahi for doing it, like because he was dead right to do it, but it probably gave them the boost that we were in control of the game. Like we probably didn't need to start a row, and whereas you don't want to be saying up to the players back down or anything like that, but they probably got a kick out of it, and it showed at the start of the second half as well. Like they come out of the blocks straight away, albeit he gave away a free straight away. Monaghan got pulled across the leg, but yeah, there's just times where I say game management could be probably a small bit better. Like, and I go back to the times in Davy Burke down through the years, he'd manage a game from the middle of the field so well.
If you're looking at the backs at the minute, there's a real competitive edge there. As we talked about, you're probably going to have Darren Morrissey and Killian Trayers in the full back line, and probably going at the minute, Joshua Ryan is definitely pushing hard for the other corner. Then in the half back line, you obviously have Porrick Mannion, Dai Burke, and Daniel Loftus has been there too. But if you look at the subs, even Keane Daniels, TJ Brennan. Obviously, as we mentioned, if Finton comes back into this, Keenan Fahy, if he comes maybe back into the half back line, and throw Shane Morgan and Kieran Hanrahan into this too, it's going to be fascinating here.
Yeah, it's going. And look, they all need a chance. Well, in particular, the likes of Kieran Hanrahan and Keane Daniels, who haven't played any league at all. Baron O'Keefe come on for a few minutes there the last day, like, but and Keane played a good bit of Walsh Cup, but the Walsh Cup is totally different to the league. Like, so I'm sure Michal is probably going to pinpoint without putting down any team or anything like that. But I'm sure the Offaly game might be a game that the likes of these lads get a chance to go, and he can probably. It's easier to put these lads out against, for your first time and stuff like that you go and chance it against an Offaly who will be classed as probably one of the weaker teams, but haven't been like, but that they can go and maybe try and see how they get on against them teams, and they'll get their chance as well. Like, and obviously the Waterford game now after beating Limerick, that'll be a totally different game leading into the game after that. Like, whereas they've been moving, they obviously were moving very well the last day after getting over the first game against Cork, where they probably were a bit of a shell shock coming back up to Division One. But they got to grips with it the last day. So yeah, look at it. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next two games, Paul. The Offaly and Waterford game. That'll be really. I'd say Offaly might be a small bit more experimental. Waterford, then you might have a mix, and then I said to you by the Kilkenny home game, there's always a bite with that Kilkenny League game. So close to Leinster Championship, obviously, as well. I think he'll be really, really trying to aim for that Kilkenny game to have his first start in 15 or as close as he can to it and have everyone fit for that. And then obviously leading into the Limerick game, lasting down Limerick.
Awfully Waterford Kilkenny, they're three that Galway are going to target, and there's three games where you really feel like Mihola and this team are really going to go after getting 6 points on the board.
Yeah, that is the goal, Paul, and that's the aim. You have to. Um, you don't want a situation where you're going into the Kilkenny and Limerick game looking for points because just say you had 2 out of 4 points against Offaly and Waterford. They need to be getting 4 out of 4 from that and aiming for a big performance against Kilkenny, like, because you'd imagine, albeit Waterford are coming to town on the Sunday, the Kilkenny game is a Saturday evening. There'll be a big crowd in for that home game. There always is, and that'll be the big target. If we could get six from six against that Kilkenny game without jumping ahead of ourselves against the Offaly and Waterford game, but that'll be the goal. I can look at, as I said to you, he's a few weeks off now where the fits will be over and there'll be teams knocked out of the fits now coming, whoever it may be. Obviously, there's a few playing with UL and a lot playing with NUI. That game will be on this week, and you'll have one team out, and you'll have a full panel to pick from, and there'll be no such thing as minding players and watching minutes or any of that stuff, and that'll be all full steam ahead from a training point of view and leading into the Offaly game. So yeah, I'd say it'll be hell for leather the next 2 weeks, and I'm sure they'll probably have a heavy block this week.
You mentioned there about Fitz, University of Galway travelling to the University of Limerick Wednesday night. It's quite a big task for University of Galway. No point in saying otherwise. Travelling to the home of this star-studded UL team.
It is, Paul, but look at in the past, Limerick. No, don't get me wrong. This is an unbelievable team, and even the subs speak for themselves. But in the past, Limerick have really had really strong teams as well, and NUI have turned up. Gone back a few years ago. This time of the year, anything can happen. I just think from watching their performances so far this year, like and in particular against Waterford, like they're going to have to start quicker and be really in it. Like you know that they can't let UL get ahead of steam in the first half, or they'll be blown away. Like because just in terms of what UL have in reserve and stuff like that, there would be no clawing them back. Like so they need to start quick to be. But I wouldn't write it off, Paul. Not for 1 second. That's not a bad NUI team as well. In all fairness, Frank Lohan's been doing. Frank Lohan has plenty of lads to pick from there, and there's some really strong inter-county players on it. So yeah, look at it. I'm actually looking forward to that game.
Yeah, Derek's obviously in goals for UL. Anthony Keady and Jerry Kerr of Ormore Mary on the UL extended panel. When it comes to the University of Galway squad, there's quite a large Galway representation. You have Joshua Ryan, Clarenbridge, Ben O'Donovan, Gort, Gavin Lee, Clarenbridge, Daniel Comer, Kilnadima Leitrim, Tiernan Lean, Craughwell, Ian McGlynn, Kilconairan. Colin Cunningham, Mike Cullen, Liam Lean, Clarenbridge, Craig Thomas, Castlegar, Darren Erie, Castlegar, Cormac Kenny, Captagal, Dermot Daverin, Mike Cullen, Patrick Burke, Oran Moore Mark Hardyman, Athenry, Ruben Davitt, Oran Moore Leon Kinnear, Sarsfields, Kieran Whelan, Oran Moore Michael Malloy, Abinock Moy, Cullen Glean, Lochray, John Cosgrove, Sarsfields, Jack Barrett, Porrick Pierces, Shane Fitzpatrick, Tina Aberdeenry, Bertie Kane, Rahul Newcastle, Owen Feeney, Athenry, Aina Daverin, Mike Cullen, and Luke McInerney, Loughrea. Obviously, Charlie Mitchell missed the quarter final there, so they'll be hoping to have him back. They have obviously Sam O'Farrell, Tipperary hurler as well, Dan Burke as well from Offaly. Mary I, they play DCU then in the other semi-final. Dar Walsh is in goals for Mary I. You have Connor and Owen Lawless in the full-back line. Donica Campbell, wing back, and Dara Whelan, middle of the field as well from Turlockmore, from them, and Matthew Rosengrave from Beha. He's on the extended squad as well. It's nearly good, Craig, for these Fitzgibbon players in one sense that they can focus in on this now for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Look at it. So I suppose at the end of the day, Paul, it's a competition that you have to take serious, don't you? Like, and it's I suppose with such a big Galway contention on the NUI panel or on the NUI team every year, it's a headache that every manager has with intercounty, I suppose, and there's so much minding and minutes and stuff like that, and the risk of injury is so high that I suppose I'm sure Michal and the lads are definitely happy it's coming to an end. But look, it's for a different definitely for a different conversation or a different forum. But I just cannot understand why this competition isn't played before Christmas and maybe have the final after Christmas. But it's
Mm.
just I don't think it's fair in the players or it's not fair in management on both sides that you have to be dealing with, you know, games every 4 or 5 days, and you know the whole congestiveness of it all. Like is and like look at I know there's club players and there are club players playing with the All Ireland series, but if you do make it that far, unfortunately, you're lucky enough to be in a club final or semi final or a Munster final. But have the fits before Christmas and give it the proper recognition it deserves. Like you know what I mean, and let it. The pitches are going to be the same before Christmas as they are after. Like so, and it's great that the final is on in Croke Park this year. At least it's getting that
Mm.
recognition anyway. Um, but it's such a good competition with such a high standard that it's just a pity that you know it's clashing with inter-county games, and you know I know there's even been some players that haven't been allowed to play, like you know, so it's a it's a nice one to win if you win it.
Looking at post-primary hurling, Pres and I Beckgore Community School there at the weekend in the semi-final. Probably disappointment for Gore Community School. They were a really fancy team this year.
Yeah, look, they won their Ireland Community School, Paul. They were going well. They had nice kind of a team gathered there, and only went down by 4 points against the Prez. But yeah, just I wasn't at the game now, but talking to a few lads there, my nephew and stuff like that was at it and stuff like that, and they just said that probably efficiency again, a bit like the Galway hurlers the weekend, that they missed quite a lot. But um, yeah, look, it's disappointment I'd say, especially after going so far and winning their Ireland Community School again this year, and they had a lot of work put in. I know they were trying to go bit out on the pitch and stuff like that, so disappointment that look at another year passes where the Prize are probably going to obviously the Prize and Loughrea schools are going to go Rayfields and Prize will be a good old final.
Yeah, Rifles and Presathenry this Sunday at 1 o'clock in the Connacht Day post-primary schools hurling final. It's in Duggan Park. Rifles and Presathenry course, they go straight into the All-Ireland series as well. Loser will go in at the quarter-final stage, and the winner then through obviously there as well. Portumna Community School, they're into the B final, and they'll be playing HRC or St. Coon's Castleblakeney, and then in the C final, St. Killian's New Inn, they play Roscommon CBS, and the winner plays Clonfert College of Ballinasloe in the post-primaries C hurling final. But that's all we do have time for on today's show. Thanks, Craig, for his time today.
Cheers, Paul.